This is Tomo News for Friday, June 2nd.
Wasp nests sold as vagina tightening product. Are you suffering from loose lips down south? Slippery sex after childbirth got you down? Maybe what you need is oak galls, the cool new trend that has women everywhere absolutely buzzing. What's an oak gall, you ask? Well, simply put, when a wasp deposits its eggs in an oak tree, a ball-shaped nest forms around the larva. That's an oak gall. The full-grown wasps eventually bust out of the nest and fly away. Somehow, someone supposedly figured out the leftover oak galls could be used for vaginal rejuvenation. The power of the oak galls can apparently be unleashed by boiling them and eating them once a day for 40 days. Try not to mind the bitterness. The other method online retailers are selling is a ground-up paste applied to cuts in the affected area. Just know it will probably sting. Fitting. However, doctors say using this method will actually dry up the vagina, increasing the risk of abrasions during sex and HIV transmission as a result. High-profile gynecologist Dr. Jen Gunter wants women everywhere to know if something burns when you apply it to the vagina, it's probably not good for the vagina. So ladies, don't buy into the hokey claims that oak gall will restore elasticity, heal vaginal cuts, or even cure cervical cancer. It's all pure douchebaggery. And please, don't take our word for it, take Dr. Gunter's.
Faceless fish found in the abyss. Australian scientists have discovered a faceless deep-sea fish off Australia's east coast during a month-long expedition. The Sampling the Abyss expedition begins from Bell Bay, Tasmania, and ends in Brisbane. The investigator research vessel is equipped with multi-beam sonar that can map the structure of the seafloor. The expedition surveys the abyssal level, up to 6,000 meters deep in the ocean. Sleds, dredgers, and grabbers are deployed in order to collect samples of animals and sediment. Scientists said animals in the abyss are often small and move slowly, and many of them don't have eyes, or produce their own light through bioluminescence. Two bounty hunters confront fugitive and all wind up dead. This video shows the moment armed bounty hunters Fidel Garcia and Gabriel Bernal tried to nab wanted fugitive Raymond Hutchinson, who was also armed. And boy oh boy did it go wrong. Hours prior to the confrontation, Garcia and Bernal reportedly told a Nissan Greenville, Texas car dealership staff on Tuesday that they were feds and were waiting for their man. Except they weren't feds, got into a shootout in a crowded area, and along with Hutchinson, wound up dead. The pair had confronted Hutchinson with their weapons drawn. Then he also pulled a piece, but dropped it on the table. Next, a struggle ensued between the men, and Hutchinson managed to grab his gun. About 20 shots were fired in a matter of seconds. All three men died in a hail of bullets. Thankfully, no one else was hurt in the shootout. Bernal and Garcia were hunting Hutchinson after he didn't show up to court in Minnesota for a first-degree drug charge. The pair worked for FNG Security and Investigations in Corpus Christi. Hutchinson's previous crimes included assaulting a cop, as well as disarming an officer.
Campus safety threat sparks college shutdown. Students at one of the most left-wing colleges in America retreated to their dorms, and faculty were told to leave for their own safety on Thursday after a threat was made against the campus. Evergreen State College in Olympia, Washington said it did not know who made the threat, and it was unclear if it was related to racially charged protests against biology professor Brett Weinstein. But we're going to take a wild guess that it definitely was related.
This is not about you.
I'm talking.
This is
all about him.
On terms of white privilege. This is not a discussion you have lost that one.
I am talking about terms that serve the truth. Those are the terms.
House of dialectic. You said some racist shit. Can you apologize?
I did not. You don't know.
Despite his progressive leanings, Professor Weinstein has recently been the target of a witch hunt by whack-job regressive students and school officials. The protesting students have labeled Weinstein a racist for daring to challenge a day of racial segregation on campus. Confused? Well, allow us to explain the background. The Day of Absence is an annual Evergreen College tradition that dates back to the 1970s, when students and faculty of color organized to meet off campus. It's a symbolic act based on a play in which the black residents of a southern town failed to show up one day, forcing the white residents to face life without them. This year, in the wake of students of color reportedly feeling unwelcome on campus after last year's presidential election, white students and faculty instead were asked to leave campus. Professor Weinstein thought that was wrong, arguing that there is a big difference between a group voluntarily absenting itself from campus and a group being pressured to leave. In return for exercising his right to free speech, Weinstein was last week accosted by a mob of 50 students who said he was racist. Instead of giving Weinstein his backing, college president George Bridges praised the student protesters, saying they were courageous. Bridges ordered campus police to stand down and then told Weinstein they could no longer guarantee his safety on campus. A swastika and graffiti calling for Weinstein's resignation appeared, and the professor was forced to hold his classes in the park. What's more, in a Facebook post, race-baiting Evergreen professor Naima Lowe called Weinstein's wife Heather Heng a racist. Heng is also an academic at the college, and Lowe appeared to suggest that white allies should remove her from campus. The FBI is now investigating the threat made to the campus on Thursday. But while those responsible for the threat remain unknown, it's clear to see where the assault against liberal values and free speech is coming from here. And it's not from Brett Weinstein.
This is what leaving the Paris Climate Agreement could mean for the U.S. U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed on Thursday that the United States is saying au revoir to the Paris climate deal signed 2 years ago by President Obama. Syria, Nicaragua, and the U.S. are now the only countries that are not members of the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement. The move to leave the deal will create uncertainty about the future of the renewable energy industry in the U.S. The U.S. coal industry wanted to stay part of the agreement to influence future negotiations. Critics say leaving the deal will weaken America's global leadership and could prompt China and other nations to implement a carbon tax on U.S. exports. The U.S. has so far paid a third of the $3 billion that President Obama pledged to the Green Climate Fund set up after Paris. The decision to leave the deal will save American taxpayers $2 billion, but could impact U.S. jobs in the renewable energy sector. The Paris Climate Agreement calls for a limit in the rise of global temperatures to no more than 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels by 2020. Scientists say an increase above that level could have catastrophic implications for the planet. It should be noted that even with the pledges made in Paris, the world is still on course for a temperature rise of 3 degrees Celsius within the next few years. So we're probably all screwed anyway. That is, if you believe in climate change. Which y'all do, right? Teen girl stabs Uber driver to death. This is 16-year-old Eliza Wozni. She's in a juvenile facility this week after she stabbed an Uber driver to death. Early Tuesday, she called for an Uber after reportedly shoplifting a knife and machete at a Walmart in Lincolnwood, Illinois. Minutes into the ride, Wozni is said to have violently stabbed driver Grant Nelson multiple times. The cops say Nelson escaped after pulling over and fleeing for his life. Wozni then jacked his ride, but hit a median, after which she made a run for it. Police later found her in nothing but her bra and leggings. Nelson later died at a local hospital, but was able to describe Wozni to the cops before passing. He was described as a random victim, and despite her age, Wozni is being charged as an adult with first-degree murder. Gunman opens fire at Philippine resort complex. At least 36 people are dead after a man fired shots and set fires inside a resort complex in the Philippines. Hundreds of people poured out of a resort complex in the Philippines yesterday after a man fired shots inside the building. The attack took place at Resorts World Manila in Pasay City, close to Ninoy Aquino International Airport early Friday. Officials said one lone gunman, who appeared to be Caucasian, fired shots in the air. The suspect also reportedly took gambling chips worth $20,000 and poured flammable liquid on gaming tables before lighting them on fire. The resort complex went on lockdown following the attack. Authorities later said the suspect had committed suicide by setting himself on fire. Authorities have denied the incident was terrorism-related. Most of the victims are thought to have suffocated on smoke from the fires as they tried to escape the complex during the attack.